Yeah. Hey guys, we normally start at 6, but we need a few more minutes today. We're running a little bit behind, so get started in about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, I apologize about that. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Good evening and welcome to the Agoura Hills City Council meeting of August 26th. Please silence all cell phones and electronic devices during the live meeting. To prevent interference with the audio-visual system, do not join the Zoom webinar from within the council chambers. All speakers addressing the City Council are to refrain from disorderly conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. I will now defer to the City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Wolf. Individuals wishing to speak or submit written comments in person are requested to complete a comment card and submit it to the City Clerk before the Mayor announces the item. Written comments submitted at the meeting will be provided to the City Council and included in the official record. For remote participation, written comments were requested to be submitted no later than 4 p.m. on the meeting date and, if received by the deadline, were distributed to the City Council in advance and will be included in the official record. Remote participants may join via Zoom or telephone using the information located at the top of the meeting agenda. All remote public comments are audio only. To speak, participants must be present in the Zoom webinar when the item is called and request to speak before the mayor closes public comment. For Zoom participants, use the raise hand feature to request to speak. When called upon by the city clerk, unmute and provide your comments. For telephone participants, dial in using either number listed on the agenda and enter the webinar ID. Press star 9 to raise your hand to speak, and when called upon by the city clerk, press star 6 to unmute and provide your comment. Remote participants wishing to comment on additional agenda items must remain in or rejoin the Zoom webinar. Speakers will be called in the order of the speaker card submitted or hands raised on Zoom. All public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and time may not be transferred to another speaker. Written comments will not be read aloud by the speaker or any other speaker. For full details, please refer to the public participation section of the agenda. Thank you.
Well done. Yeah, that's new. Sorry. It's a new function. I will now call this meeting to order. And for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask Lewis. Lewis, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight? I will now defer to the city clerk for roll call.
Good evening again. Councilmember Anstead?
Here.
Councilmember Anderson?
Here.
Councilmember Sylvester?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez?
Here.
Mayor Wolf?
Here.
Mayor Wolf, you have a quorum.
Wonderful. There was no closed session, so we have no report of closed session. A few quick announcements due to a scheduling conflict. District Representative Sean Reagan from Senator Allen's office will actually be at our next meeting. And consent calendar items number 5 and number 8 are going to be pulled for discussion and separate action. With those two updates, will a maker of a motion and a second to approve the agenda please state your name?
Councilmember Sylvester so moves.
I'll second. Deborah Klein Lopez.
Michelle, I defer to you for roll call.
Councilmember Anderson?
Aye.
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez?
Aye.
Mayor Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Wolf, you have approval, 5-0.
Fantastic. I'm now moving on to the presentation portion of tonight's agenda. Yeah, all good on that front. So it is my distinct honor to invite up, I'm going to have you guys stand up next to me, my two new dear friends, Tammy, who's the CEO and founder, and Tina with Healthcare for Homeless Animals. Do you mind standing next to me while I start off this presentation? So tonight we have a special presentation to honor the 30th anniversary of Healthcare for Homeless Animals. Healthcare for Homeless Animals, or HHA, was founded 30 years ago as a 100% volunteer-run 501c3 nonprofit organization that's solely dedicated to funding life-saving medical care for shelter animals. And for 3 decades, HHA has provided emergency treatment, surgeries, dental care, diagnostics, rehabilitation, senior wellness care, and other essential veterinary services to the animals at the Agoura Animal Care Center. Through the tireless dedication of its volunteers and its volunteer board, community support and supporters, along with donors, HHA has helped countless sick, injured, senior, and neglected animals become healthy and ready for adoption. They're giving them a second chance at a loving home, and your work reflects a long-standing local partnership rooted in compassion, rooted in service, and rooted in community impact. You're directly supporting the mission of the Agoura Animal Care Center. Over the past 30 years, the volunteers, the donors, and the supporters of HHA have changed the lives of countless animals and embodied the very best of the community spirit in the city of Agoura Hills. We are so honored to recognize you, and we deeply appreciate the extraordinary contributions HHA has had to the well-being of shelter animals and to the compassionate spirit of our community. It is with great pleasure that I, as the mayor, on behalf of our entire city council, congratulate Healthcare for Homeless Animals on the occasion of your 30th anniversary. We extend our sincere gratitude for 3 decades of life-saving service to the animals of Agoura Animal Care Center and to the entire community of Agoura Hills and our entire region. The work that they do is so incredibly impactful. I got to see it up close and personal this week. It brings me to tears thinking about it. It brought me to tears at one point being there. I am so touched by what you and your volunteers do. We are so incredibly grateful for you. In a moment, we're going to be presenting a certificate, an official, not a certificate, a proclamation of recognition for your 30 years. But first, I'm going to hand the microphone over to see if you guys want to say anything.
So my name is Tammy. I'm the president of Healthcare for Homeless Animals, and like Mayor Wolf said, we're a nonprofit at the Agoura Animal Care Center. First, I really want to thank you for this amazing proclamation of recognition, and I want to thank the City Council for having us here and for this proclamation. It's kind of hard to believe. We're kind of pinching ourselves. It's 30 years. It started with one person just funding medical care for animals with treatable conditions so they won't have to be euthanized. And today we are doing so much more. We're all volunteers at the Agoura Animal Care Center. We're all volunteers at this nonprofit organization. And we're so proud to serve this community and be part of the Agoura Animal Care Center, Agoura Hills, and beyond. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I think you all covered it. This is incredible. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for this incredible award. We have our upcoming 30th anniversary event coming up on the 27th of September. If anyone wants to come and join us, where you get to meet the whole community, all our adopters, all our donors, everyone that supports the work that we do. Year after year, sadly, the number of animals that come to the shelter is just increasing. We have to pay a lot more in vet bills than we used to do years and years ago. So we appreciate all the support, all the love, and anything for our animals. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much, and I truly believe that a society is only as good as it treats its animals, and you're giving a voice and hope to hopeless situations, so touched. And I know that you have such an impact. I do want to turn it over to see if our council has anything they would like to add. Councilmember Anderson?
Of course we do. Oh my gosh, 30 years. Congratulations and thank you for what you do for animals, and it's especially near and dear to my heart that you do it at our rescue center here. I know that that rescue center is a county-run facility, and it cannot do this work alone. So for you guys to come in, and I'm guessing that you are volunteers that are helping. So thank you all for the time and the effort that you put into caring for our furry ones. We have 2 little rescues at home, and they are also near and dear to my heart. And please do send the invitation for the event on the 27th. I'd love to support.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Thank you, thank you. Part of the beauty of this job is that we never cease to learn about amazing people in our community. Some of us even grew up here never realizing what you do for our animals and for the people who adopt them. And so it's such a joy to meet you, to learn about you, to learn about your work, and recognize you because you've been doing it for so many decades, not for any type of recognition, but for the good of, and the love of animals. And I'll just add that I too have a shelter baby that was adopted from the Agoura Hills facility, and I also have 3 kids, but I'll let you guess who's the one on my watch. Right? The furry one. So I thank you, and I don't know what issues he may or may not have had before he ended up in our home, but walking through there, I know that there's so many that need a loving home to go to. So thank you for what you do to make that happen.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Just like to mirror everything my fellow council members have said. And I also have a question. Are you open for volunteers, or do you have to have special training to work with you?
So we are all volunteers at the Agoura Animal Care Center. There's a big group of volunteers there. We are, our work is volunteer work. There's many opportunities to volunteer for our nonprofit. May not be involving animals, but we have a lot of things that we do that, yes, we would love to have volunteers.
Let our community know that you don't have to be a vet or have any medical
No.
qualifications to come and help with the
None
animals.
of us are vets. by the
There
way.
you go. Thank you, and
Yes.
thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Yes, and then I'm going to hand it to Councilmember Anstead.
I just want to say thank you for all your time and effort, for all your volunteers that have, and also the donors that have given. I think that's fantastic. For 30 years is a long, and we hope for at least another 30 years, if not longer. So thank you very much again.
I just wanted to recognize that some of our board members are here as well, supporting. It really takes a village to do the work that we do. We're all in the behind the scenes, coordinating all the vet visits and, applying for grants and doing all the work that we need to do. But it really takes a village of a board, all the volunteers, folks like you who really support the work that we do, and all the shelter staff and vets and everyone that we've been working with for the last 30 years. Our website is healthcareforhomelessanimals.org. That's where you'll find all the volunteer info, how you can support, how you can get involved, or just come to the shelter and meet us. Thank you.
And as was mentioned, you don't do this work to get recognition, but on nights like tonight, we get to recognize the work. So on behalf of the City of Agoura Hills, we offer a proclamation celebrating the 30th anniversary for healthcare for homeless animals. Thank you guys so much. So tonight it's a really special night. I feel like the theme is all about second chances and overcoming obstacles, and it is with great privilege and personal pride to present this month's Business of the Month to my good friends at Found Recovery. Kanan, will you come up? Danielle, I don't know if you want to come up also or film. It's up to you, whatever. Let me give you a hug first. Right here. So, founded by Kanan Oliver and Danielle Nappis, Found Recovery is an intensive counseling program right here in Agoura Hills, offering therapeutic services to those navigating transition in their lives, whether it's divorce, substance use, or other significant life challenges. Through therapy, psychiatric services, counseling, life coaching, nutrition, and physical training, they are helping people every day find meaning, purpose, and healing. What makes this business so unique and so special is that there is real heart behind it. Found Recovery was built as a true passion project, driven by purpose and a deep personal commitment to helping others find healing, strength, and hope during life's most difficult transitions. We are so proud to be home to such a unique healing program, one that offers our residents and our neighbors a resource unlike anything else in the area. We are grateful for the heart and hospitality Found Recovery brings to Agoura Hills. So on behalf of the entire City Council and our community, thank you for the meaningful work Found Recovery does every single day. Big congratulations on being our August Business of the Month. And on a personal note, my family has dealt with addiction and recovery, and the folks at Found Recovery have just been so wonderful, not just to my family, but to families throughout the Conejo Valley, throughout Los Angeles, throughout the state of California, and really the U.S. And I'm so proud that you have built what you have built right here in Agoura Hills. So I would love to hear if you have anything to say. I'll pass the mic to you.
Thank you, Mayor Wolf. We're so humbled and honored, honestly. Me and Danielle have known each other since 5th grade. We've been in the work of behavioral sciences professionally for the last 15 years. And it's true, we did start Found Recovery as a passion project to create meaning and impact in our local community. And I think we both just consider ourselves humble servants that truly love people and want to bring healing and purpose and connection, because life is hard. And as it was mentioned by the prior recipient, thank you for your work. Appreciate that. We are just two of many, many people that are part of the team that make Found special and impactful in people's lives. We just consider ourselves honored every single day to be trusted for many people local and from far away, to be a part of their journey, because it starts with trust and rapport, and then we can kind of go from there. So we're so honored. Would you like to add anything? I want to say too, we are so honored to be in Agoura Hills. Nature is a big part of our program. The open space, the community centers, the community welcoming us has been such a blessing. Everyone at City Hall, from the day we got our business license many years ago to anything we ever need, it's been such an honor. And on a personal note, the time that you've granted me personally, I appreciate it so much. So we could not be more honored and grateful to be here and be a part of Agoura Hills. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I mean, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and yeah, we very much value being in Agoura. I think we've seen a lot of miracles and transformations, and this is our heart. We want to help as many addicts and people who struggle with any sort of issues. So this is just our heart, and I'm grateful to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
For the count, yeah, let's give them a round of applause. And for the council, if you don't know, they have a beautiful office located in Liberty Canyon right by the wildlife corridor. They're in that office space right there, so you should definitely go check them out. So with that, let's take our official photo. Okay, thank you all. Now moving on to some city business. Intergovernmental Special Purpose Committee and departmental reports. I defer to Councilmember Sylvester for any updates from the Las Virgenes Malibu Council of Governments.
Thank you. At our last meeting, we discussed the progress being made for the new fiber network project that's going into our 5 local cities. They have almost finished in Westlake Village and Hidden Hills. Calabasas is at about 35%, and then they'll move on to Malibu, Agoura Hills, and unincorporated LA County. And the completion goal is March of 2027. Hopefully, the rains coming this winter won't slow that down. Also, we had a presentation from Tree People. They're partnering with our local water district to provide discounted native garden kits. So anybody that's interested, there are about 50 rebates still left. So normally the kits cost $150, and there's a $50 rebate. I think today, and maybe you want to comment on this, Mayor Wolf, that you attended the Metro Board meeting to elect a new representative for us, so I'll let you talk about it at the end. And then Captain Carl Loft Hill Sheriff Station wanted our community to be aware, Labor Day weekend, if you're planning on going to Zuma Beach, get there early because the Westwood Beach parking lot is no longer available because of the erosion to the road there. It's closed. So there is now more demand for the Zuma parking lot, and he said they will be closing it once it's full. So if you were planning a Labor Day weekend at the beach, get there early. And then Megan Currier from our fire department, she said they are preparing for a potential increase of 20% rainfall this fall. And they have completed 98% of their defensible space inspections, and that is all going well. And the other update is with the Zone 0 regulations. The Board of Forestry has now approved the regulations as they currently exist. But residents are going to have 3 years to clear all the dead brush and anything else that shouldn't be in that first 5 feet, like firewood, storing old furniture, things like that. And then you're going to have 5 years to comply with healthy vegetation in the area. And that will be followed up with inspections by the fire department. So please don't anybody go and rip out healthy vegetation or trees. Wait until you get those inspections from the fire department, but go ahead and remove anything that's flammable in the area. So it's common sense at this point. And I don't know, Mayor Wolf, if you want to comment on the Metro.
I'll wait till after the other report. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Sylvester, for your work on the COG and that thorough update. Councilmember Anderson, update on the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy.
Thank you, Mayor Wolf. I have 4 things from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy of interest to Agoura Hills. The first is that we approved a letter objecting to the U.S. Department of Commerce's, also NOAA's, efforts to undermine our coastal management program. Many of you may have seen that the federal government is coming in unexpectedly and off schedule to do a review of our coastal management program, which is going to be very disadvantageous to our ability to protect our coast. And so we authorized sending a letter to them objecting to that. The second was such a feel-good thing. We approved a total of $620,000 in grants to the Community Nature Connection, and also then to, in partnership with that, and I think I'm going to mispronounce this, the Akutet Learning Nursery, for this combination of the Community Nature Connection does education for youth. And so some portion of the grant is going to their youth leadership program that brings in youth to help train them in being environmentally sensitive and working in the world. And then some measure of that funding is also going to this learning nursery to upgrade the nursery to be more fire hardened, which again, I'm delighted to see grants helping with that. Also for wildfire resilience, workforce development, and educational elements for the community, including training people to be part of UC California's naturalist program, which is just such a cool thing. And so they get all these kids to be naturalists through a program designed by the UCs. And then also on the uplifting note, we were introduced to a new fire prevention champion in our area. So the federal government had made a decision to centralize all fire planning, prevention, and fighting from 4 agencies: the Bureau of Land Management, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Fish and Wildlife, and then closest and nearest and dearest to our heart, the National Park Service. So it meant that our National Park Service here was losing a position. This terrifies me because I adore Jody and I think that she's doing an excellent job. However, that was then reassured because Jody then brought this man, Kelly Fisher. It turns out that Jody had actually hired him before this change had taken effect, and he was then effectively promoted. So we are really getting the best of both worlds. He came and he spoke. He's got tremendous experience in this space. He was up in Yosemite before this, and by the fact that Jody Lyle, our superintendent, I think is her official title, thank you, by the fact that she hired him also speaks so highly to his qualifications and to his heart. And then we asked him about this, like, is this going to be a good thing or a bad thing? And he really believes that this centralizing of the fire planning, prevention, and fighting within this department is going to lessen the silos, is going to make it easier for him to go up a chain of command to support us. So I am thrilled to say that we've got a champion that I think we really will be able to work with here in Agoura Hills. And then last but not least, this wasn't something that happened at our most recent meeting, but as a member of the advisory council, I was alerted to a shrublands and chaparral nature-based solutions summit happening on Friday, and it just happens, I get every other Friday off, it just happens to be my Friday off, so I will be attending the Nature-Based Solutions Summit this Friday, where we are seeking to learn about implementing nature-based solutions to help avoid catastrophic wildfires and scale nature-based solutions for shrublands and chaparral, which you guys know this is one of, along with Council Member Sylvester, and I mean, listen, this is a priority for all of our council members, is the wildfire prevention and protection. So it fits right into that. And that's my report.
Great, thank you for your work on the Conservancy and that thorough report. Any other updates, reports from council members? Seeing or hearing none, I'll give a quick update. Today I attended the North County Selection Committee meeting for Metro Board. This is the second time going through it, but this is the first round. Today, Mayor Pro Tem Patsy Ayala from the city of Santa Clarita was nominated from the Northern County Selection Committee. She will now need to go to the full selection committee, which is made up of every city in Los Angeles County, and that will be in the next few weeks. We'll get that information, and if approved, she will then be our representative on the Metro Board. And as mayor, I serve as the voting member on the committee. With that, are there any reports from staff? Seeing or hearing none, moving to public comments. This section is reserved for individuals wishing to speak on items that are not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. If you have materials to distribute to the council, please do not approach the dais. Instead, provide them to the city clerk for distribution on your behalf. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker's time may not be transferred to another speaker. Written comments submitted by individuals may not be read aloud by another speaker. Individuals addressing the City Council shall refrain from disorderly conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. I will now defer to the City Clerk.
Thank you. We did not receive any written correspondence, nor do we have any speaker cards or hands raised for this portion of the agenda.
Thank you. For the consent calendar, as previously announced, but I will mention again, we are pulling items number 5 and number 8 for separate discussion following the approval of the consent calendar. This section is reserved for persons wishing to speak on items on the consent calendar. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, not 3 minutes per item. I will now defer to the City Clerk for public comments on the consent calendar.
Thank you. We do not have any written correspondence, speaker cards, or hands raised for the remaining consent calendar items.
Are there any questions from the council on the consent calendar? I will now call for a motion and a second to adopt items number 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 9 on the consent calendar. Will the makers of the motion and the second please state your names?
City Councilman Chris Anstead makes a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Sylvester seconds.
I will now defer to the city clerk for roll call.
Councilmember Anderson? Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez?
Aye.
Mayor Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Wolf, you have approval, 5-0.
Thank you so much. Starting on with consent calendar item number 5. Our first consent item is the consideration of approving an award of contract services agreement with West Coast Arborists Incorporated for tree maintenance services. I will now defer to our Public Works Director and City Engineer, Charmaine Yambao, for the staff presentation. Charmaine?
Well, I didn't prepare a presentation, so I do have my staff report.
Staff report.
Yes. So before you is the item to approve a contractor service agreement with West Coast Arborists for tree maintenance services. On July 9th, 2026, staff solicited proposals for the tree maintenance services, which include, but are not limited to, the following: tree trimming, tree and stump removal, tree planting, emergency response, updating the city's tree inventory. On August 6, 2026, the city received proposals from 9 prospective companies. They were Green Tree Care, Greenfield Landscaping, Green Check Services, LLC, Julian Tree Care, Mariposa Tree Management, Oak Ridge Landscaping, Inc., Tiger Tree Services, United Pacific Services, and West Coast Arborist. The city had a selection committee comprised of city staff who reviewed and evaluated each of the 9 proposals based on the following criteria: presentation, completeness, and thoroughness of the proposal, cost, the company's relevant experience and proposed approach to similar work, and references. Those are all outlined in the RFP, by the way, or the request for qualifications and request for proposals. Following the evaluation, the selection committee unanimously determined that West Coast Arborist was the most qualified and best suited to provide the requested services. West Coast Arborist has provided tree maintenance services to the city since 2011 and brings extensive experience working with the city with a demonstrated history of delivering exceptional results. The proposed agreement contains a not-to-exceed amount of $360,000 for a 3-year term commencing September 1st, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2026, and can be extended for a maximum of 2 years upon mutual agreement between the city and the contractor. Additional scope and services are outlined in the attached report with the contract, and I would like to add that the request for proposal and request for qualifications and proposals is a standard procedure for city services. Typically, if they'll go for 5 years, 3 years max, if they didn't provide satisfactory experience or services. In this case, we had extended it to 2 years, which is a total of 5. And at that point, we go out for an RFQ and RFP through what the city uses, Planet Bids. And it's out there in Planet Bids for about 4 weeks. And all of that is outlined in the RFP itself. It tells you the schedule. And there's even a date of when questions can be submitted, which could potentially extend the proposal time. In this case, it did not. There were no questions that warranted extension, which is why we received it on the stated date of August 6th. In the RFP, it also states a matrix of how it's rated. The matrix is used by the selection committee on rating each firm. I will add, even though we received 9, 2 of the qualified the firms were disqualified for not meeting the criteria stated in the RFP. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Before we move to the public comments, do any council members have questions of staff? I see Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We get contracts like this all the time that go through our consent calendar, and we don't usually get emails and letters about them, but we did get a few for this one, and there seemed to be questions about our process and possibly not getting feedback. I know we have to do things by the book because we are a public entity. So I'm just curious, why did this contract, in your opinion, solicit some of these questions about our process?
I'd like to add that, or at least start with that the RFP and RFQ, it's outlined the procedures were followed. Staff, typically in an RFQ process, we don't put any of the information out until after negotiations. In this case, there were no negotiations. It was priced as the proposal. Best answer on why there might be is that first of all, we did not receive any questions or requests for the information prior to coming to City Council, prior to putting out the staff report. But if we had given out the information ahead of time to the firms, maybe that would have prevented some of the comments that you had received. But because we use Planet Bids, that information is always, it's there. It's actually public. So.
Okay. So I guess my question is, the process that we went through on our end was not anything out of the ordinary of what we normally do, and information was available publicly for those who were interested in digging a little deeper. Is that my understanding? Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other questions from council? Seeing or hearing none, I will now defer to the city clerk for public comments.
Thank you. We did receive two written correspondence, public comments that were forwarded to the City Council. Eric Franklin, United Pacific Services Incorporated, and Dennis Jones, Mariposa Tree Management Incorporated. And we do have a speaker this evening, Brandon Williamson. And we do notice that several people are online, so if you intend to speak, please go ahead and raise your hand and we'll call you after the first speaker.
Great. So now I would like to welcome up the first speaker, but I do want to note that you have 3 minutes to speak. There's no green light on the podium, and your light will begin when you start speaking. When the yellow light appears, you will have 30 seconds to finish before the light turns red and your time is up. Whenever you're ready, please adjust the microphone and you can begin your comments. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Brandon Williamson. I'm an account manager for Mariposa Tree Management. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So again, my name is Brandon Williamson. I'm an account manager for Mariposa. I'm here to speak on behalf of the tree contract, and we submitted a comprehensive proposal demonstrating that we have the qualifications, experience, the qualified personnel, equipment, certifications, and the resources necessary to successfully serve the city of Agoura Hills. We also submitted extremely competitive pricing. Most notably, our grid pruning price was 24% cheaper than the proposed West Coast arborist price. In addition, we were also lower on nearly every other major line item on the cost proposal. What is not clear from the staff report is how the evaluation ultimately led to the conclusion that West Coast arborist was the best choice for the city. The report does not include the proposal scores or provide much detail regarding that determination. We respect the time and effort the city staff put into this process, but believe our qualifications and substantial pricing advantages deserve careful consideration by the council. We also reviewed the city's invoices for the fiscal years previous to get a better understanding of the project, how many trees are trimmed every year and that kind of thing. And we noticed something important. For the fiscal year 25-26, there's substantial work being done categorized as backup crew pruning, all billed as hourly rate, while the grid pruning and surface request trimming line items show no utilization at all. In one work summary alone, 125 trees were categorized this way. Those trees may not have been part of the formally scheduled annual grid, of course, but when large groups of trees are pruned in concentrated areas, considering the grid rate, it should be warranted. It could result in considerable savings to the city. Mariposa is qualified, prepared, and offering the city significant value. We respectfully ask the City Council to consider the complete picture and award this contract to Mariposa Tree Management. We welcome the opportunity to partner with the city staff and earn your confidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll defer to City Clerk, see if we have any online comments.
We do not.
We do not. So do any council members have any further questions? Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Yeah, I'm just, if Charmaine, Ms. Yambao, if you wouldn't mind responding to some of those concerns about, if you can just help us understand how we're not tree experts, so I don't know if some of the economies of scale are realistic or not. I just don't have that knowledge. So if you can explain a little bit on the evaluation process, and do we provide scores, and are those public? And then finally, my last question is, do you respond to the bidders who do not get the contract so they understand why their proposal wasn't accepted?
Those are a lot of questions, but yes, I can answer those. First off, as far as the scoring, it's on a rate of 100, and cost does partake in it, but it's like 20% of it. So you take into consideration the completeness of the response, their public outreach, who's on staff, their qualifications, their references. So, with 9 proposals that we received, we reviewed each and every one of them to those qualifications. Yes, cost does. I mean, I can tell you that if I look down the line from the committee, just on cost alone, they definitely rated based on what he's presenting as far as theirs being a little lower. I can tell you West Coast is not the highest, not the lowest, but it's not the main driving force of how we rate and rank the firms. That's one question. Second is typically what we do after we award the contract, the manager will send out the information to the firms that have proposed, giving them the information that was provided to council. If it's requested, and it has been, and we've actually talked to one of the firms asking if they wanted a copy of our matrix of all the scoring for all the 9 proposals. They declined and said they may later, but yes, absolutely. The answer to that is we would definitely provide that, including any comments that were provided by the selection committee. And I can't remember if I missed any questions. He did address some of the costs from last year. While I did not do a deep dive on it, I did take a look at our contract that we have for the year. We did do a couple of amendments because we received some grants, so we did amend the contract for that, totally separate from the contract itself because it was amendment. But if I look at the balance, we're about, basically we spent $10,000, we didn't spend $10,000 of our limit. So I don't know exactly what you were looking at, but I can tell you we did not exceed what our max limit would have been for the contract.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding who's on the selection committee on the city level.
All 3 staff are from the Public Works Department. All have had experience with the tree maintenance, and if you want me, I can name who they are.
No, that's okay.
But they're all within the Public Works. With the 3, and I can tell you from the scores that they provided, typically it doesn't differ usually for the first one. Usually across the board, you'll see there's a lot of agreement. There may be some differences, second, third, fourth, but they were pretty much in line. And they do it independently. They do meet and confer once all the scores are done, if there's any questions between them. So I can tell you it was done independently, and they did confer at the end.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the council before we move on to deliberations?
No, just briefly, each one is done individually and then you come together. And is it a blind, or do they know the names of the firms when they're doing the matrix evaluation?
No, they know the names because they look at the proposal, which has all the criteria that's outlined in the RFP, not just the name, but who the firm is, what their qualifications are, their finances, everything that assures us that this firm will not only give us the personnel and the equipment that we requested, but also that they'll be here for the long run.
Right. And nothing is different this time around than in any previous selection?
That is correct. And we will probably do this again in, if not 3 years, 5 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move on to deliberations. Councilmember Sylvester, can I start with you since your mic was
Yes,
ready, warmed up
I
and
turned it
ready?
back on. So, I mean, I'm not a tree specialist, but it's important that we follow the rules and regulations, and you have explained that, and you said we have. This is no different from any other evaluation of an RFP in selecting a contractor, so I am comfortable moving forward and approving it.
Thank you. Councilmember, staying on that side of the dais, Councilmember Anstead?
Sure. I don't see anything irregular, and I feel like we followed the procedure that we normally do. And I think that it's good that we're going to provide, if requested, that we'll provide the scorecards to the other bidders. So I'm ready to move forward with the agreed upon vendor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for coming out tonight, our speaker, and for those who wrote in. I know that preparing a response to these proposal requests takes a lot of time, a lot of staff time, and so I want to acknowledge that and thank you for reaching out to us. It's not usual that we get this kind of feedback after what is a pretty standard procedure for us. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for all the work that goes into it. My big concern when I read the letters, and I think we did have two that came to the council as a whole, and then there might have been one more that came to us individually. It raised questions about our process, and I wanted to make sure with you that we are transparent. That's the biggest thing. We have to be transparent when we do this, and it sounds like we are. It sounds like it's a very standard and fair process that we're willing to turn over to show how we made our decisions and what they were based on. And so to me, that's the biggest thing is I want to be able to back up our decisions with that transparency, and it sounds like we're doing that. And I guess the only other thing I would request is that, to those that did reach out to us, and I believe you've already done some of this, that you just reach out to them individually. We want to make sure that when we are out for full proposal, that, everybody's got all of the information and the best opportunity to bid for this is a very important service to us in Agoura Hills, and so we want to make sure everyone's equipped with everything they need to be competitive in those bids. So just requesting that if you haven't reached out to them, which I believe you have, that you do. But with that, it all seems above board, and I want to thank the staff that put time into this as well, and I'm ready to proceed. Thank you.
Councilmember Anderson?
So I want to echo the comments of all of my fellow council members, and actually a special shout out to Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez for your really good questions. Like that, I appreciated where you went with all of that, and thank you. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for the work you do in caring for trees. And the only thing I will add is I was really grateful to hear that cost is just 20% of what goes into it. Cost matters. I'm super thrifty. Like I literally, 70% of my wardrobe comes from thrift stores. And I'm thrifty on the council too. We are not, it's a true story. I also have fun. And we are not a wealthy city. we do not have the revenue of a lot, so we watch, as Diego knows, we watch our dollars carefully, and quality really matters. I was having lunch with a colleague who is considering moving. It's like, well, what are you interested in? Like, what do you want in a place? She's like, trees. And I was able to say to her, like, come to Agoura Hills. We really care for our trees. So quality really matters, and I appreciate that cost is something we consider, and that quality is, and all the other pieces of it matter even more to us. So with that, I am also prepared to, and thank you to the staff for the great work, and Ms. Yamba for being so great on your feet with this unexpected presentation and the questions.
Thank you. Echo fellow council members, trees are extremely important in the city for resiliency purposes and all the purposes that we discuss continuously. I want to thank the speaker for taking the time to come here tonight. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to come and address these concerns. And this was interesting, I think, for the council to kind of hear how some of this works. Tonight I am comfortable with the staff recommendation to award the contract service agreement with West Coast Arborists, and I appreciate the staff work that has gone into it. And I do want to echo that we continue to be transparent, and I believe we are, and to continue to act in that manner. So thank you for your diligency. And with that, I will call for a motion and a second to approve the staff recommendation.
I'll make a motion to approve, was item 5 on the consent calendar with staff recommendation. Thank you. Deborah Klein Lopez.
I get a second.
City Councilman Chris Anstead, seconds.
Thank you. I defer to City Clerk for roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Anstead.
Aye.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you. Our next item is item number 8 from the consent calendar, and it's consideration of approving an agreement for contractor services with Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated for the preparation of the city's 7th cycle housing element. I will now defer to our Community Development Director, Robbie Nesevic, for the staff report.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. So I, like many, are both excited and nervous to begin this whole process. So the tentative deadline for the city to adopt our 7th cycle housing element and to be in compliance is April of 2030. So the first step of that process is to have the Southern California Association of Governments and the state of California begin a consultation process to then formulate structural assumptions for the development of the regional housing needs determination. And for those who don't know what the regional housing needs determination is, that is just essentially a determination from the state for the number of housing units that get allocated to the Southern California Association of Governments. So we're expecting to have the regional housing needs determination in October of 2026, coming up very soon. And then after we get that regional housing needs determination, then the Southern California Association of Governments then does an assessment on how many units get assigned to each jurisdiction. And so that we expect to have our ultimate allocation by April of 2028, and there's a whole process that is undergone with the Southern California Association of Governments with how they allocate those units. So in the preparation of the housing element, we released an RFQ and RFP, request for qualifications and proposals, to select a qualified consultant to do our 7th cycle housing element. And we ultimately selected Kimley Horn, the Community Planning Division. And so the total contract amount for the preparation of the 7th cycle housing element is $612,472 through 2030. That's not just 1 year with that. And so that's through 2030, and the first step that we want to really accomplish this year is to do a housing opportunity and constraints analysis for potential sites and potential relocation of sites, and also probably most importantly is to have a public outreach campaign to make sure that the public is on board and fully aware of what we plan on doing as part of the 7th cycle housing element, including some of our strategies. So a member of Kimley Horn's team is here as well to introduce himself later on, but as for that, I'm available for any questions about this item.
Thank you, Robbie. Looking at my council to see council member, it's not my council, I'm looking at my fellow council members, see if there's any questions. Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
May I, since this is your council?
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
right?
I'm just curious, how early did we start last time for the 6th cycle? Because I know we started early, right? We had a very long runway of public engagement activities, but I don't remember starting this early. So how does this compare to the last time?
We're early. We are one of the first, if not the first, jurisdictions that I'm aware that's really starting to delve into the 7th cycle housing element. Might be a little bit of a trauma response to the 6th cycle, but yes, we're starting early. We really want to get that public engagement going, make sure everybody's on board and knows what we're doing so that we can really get public engagement when we actually prepare the final housing element.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sylvester.
I have a question. It's not really about our city, but in the unincorporated LA County communities that are around our city, do they get RENA allocations?
I believe the unincorporated county as a whole, they allocate units to the entirety of the unincorporated area, and then individual cities get their own allocation.
So potentially, like, I'm thinking of like Malibu Lake or somewhere like that, they could get, who would issue that to say that more housing has to go there?
Los Angeles County does.
LA County. So it would be our supervisors.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
It's written here, but you mentioned it, it's in the staff report, and you verbally said it, but I just want to talk through it again. So the numbers from SCAG will be finalized in October of 27, and then the city will then receive those numbers possibly in April of 28. Is that correct?
That's correct. They essentially formulate the methodology through 27, so that's a public engagement process that we will definitely be involved in to develop the methodology for distribution to the 197 jurisdictions, and then we will get our numbers in 2028. But it's all tentative, but that's what's mapped out right now.
And then this needs to be approved, the 7th cycle. Each jurisdiction needs to approve it by 2030.
That's correct. So I believe it's, we may have to adopt our housing element by, I believe it's October of 2029, but then HCD has to certify it by April 2030.
April 2030. Okay, thank you. You also already stated this, but I just want to say it again. Can you talk through a little bit some of the benefits for starting so early? I understand we are one of the first jurisdictions. What are some of the benefits?
Public engagement is probably the first, so that everybody knows what's happening and we don't just get hit last minute. We really didn't want to be in a position where we just, 2028 rolls around, we finally get our number of units that we have to zone for, and then we have to start the process from that point. We really wanted to have a solid foundation, kind of really know before we even get allocated our units, what are our Plan A, Plan B, Plan C's for housing in the community. So that public engagement, number one.
That's very helpful. Thank you. And then my last question is, in October 27th, is that when the snapshot of where we are for the 6th cycle, is that when it's submitted? So how many units, and how many units are, so it's a two-part question. Is that when it's submitted of the inventory? And is it inventory in construction, permitted, or applications have been submitted?
The 6th cycle should run through 2029, So I don't have an exact date for when that
Oh, okay.
cutoff
I see.
is yet, but it does run through 2029. So any building permits issued up to a certain date in 2029 will count towards the sixth cycle.
That answers my question perfectly. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Councilmember Anstead.
Thank you, Mayor. Robbie, just have a question on, so if we approve this tonight, so the Kimberly Horn between now and October of '27, so a little over a year, what will they be doing? Will they be actually looking at different sites and talking to the state, or tell me exactly what they'll be doing?
Exactly. There's definitely a public outreach component with our residents, but then also an outreach component with the Southern California Association of Governments as well as the state. So they're formulating kind of all of their methodologies, and we want to be a part of that. And then beyond that, we also are kind of doing an analysis of potential housing sites in the future and replacements or alternatives to consider in the seventh cycle.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sylvester.
At what point will you be setting up, or will you be setting up a citizens advisory group?
That's a good question. So we would first essentially have to kind of develop our public outreach strategy. And so sometimes with a citizens advisory group, you do want to have a little bit more targeted discussions. We could really discuss that. I mean, we plan on having a very robust citizens engagement. So whether it be workshops or a citizens advisory group, it's to be determined when that'll happen, but it will happen, and there will be engagement opportunities. I would probably say either by the end of this calendar year or early next calendar year.
Okay, thank you. Very robust questions. Before we move on, I will now defer to the city clerk for public comments.
Thank you. We did not receive any written correspondence. I do have a speaker card for Bryant De La Torre.
Hello, let me read this quick spiel. Welcome. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. There's no green light on the podium. Your time begins when you start speaking. When the yellow light appears, you'll have 30 seconds to finish before the light turns red and your time is up. Please adjust the microphone and begin your comments whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bryant De La Torre from Kimberly Horn. So I'll be leading the housing element effort. There's a lot of good questions, and I'm here to answer them. But just want to introduce myself, come in front of you all, let you all know who I am, so you see a familiar face. We will have a robust engagement program, so I'll be here. We have our community engagement specialist as well, but as project manager, I'll also be there. So in coordination with your staff, we'll put together a community engagement plan. So with your feedback, staff's feedback, commission's feedback, draft an engagement plan that really fits the community. We've worked really all over the state, so we really live and breathe housing elements. It may be a pain to you all, and sure it is a pain to me as well, but we've really developed a process with HCD where we're able to speak candidly with them. So we're able to get individualized attention by being early. I know that was something that came up already. So I applaud staff and the city for getting ahead of this, since we can really get that attention early on and we're not racing to a deadline. So we have plenty of time ahead of us. But again, just want to introduce myself, and if there's any questions, I'm here to answer. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. We cannot engage in back and forth questions now, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of time for that in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Do any council members have any further questions? We'll now move on to deliberation, and I'm going to start to the right of the dais now. I'll start with Councilmember Anstead.
Definitely ready to move forward with this. I think it's great that we're going early, and Kimberly Horn's going to engage our residents and have some public forums on this, and also look at alternative sites. So I think it's great. Ready to move forward.
Thank you. Go Councilmember Anderson.
Ooh, this is kind of fun, going back and like it, I like it, I like it. I too am thrilled that we are going early. Thank you for coming and introducing yourself and presenting. And I love that we're going forward we're going early for two reasons. One, to get ahead of this, because I do think, Robbie, Director Nesevich, what I heard you say is that before we go to community, we have to have an idea in our minds about what it is we're going to be presenting to community. And I think we really need robust community engagement. So I love that we're giving ourselves all the time that we need to be able to have something to take to community to then develop. And then the other thing that I heard between you and Brian, right? Terrible. Yes. From Brian is going early, and I'm so glad to hear of the relationships you have. Gives us an opportunity to shape what is going to be required of us, which I just think is super, super smart. So thank you, and I'm delighted to move forward with it.
Thank you for your comments. Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow council members. I think it's a good idea to go early. And when we do the outreach, not only to our residents in our city, but if we could include the residents in the unincorporated areas of LA County, who I know get upset when they hear about more development coming into Agoura Hills because of their evacuation routes and everything. So I think if we all work together and everybody understands why we're doing what we're doing, it will make our journey that much easier. But I can certainly move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Thank you. I think it's really important to recognize how housing laws have changed between the 5th cycle and the 6th cycle, because when we did our 6th cycle housing element, it was really, I think, the first time that we were faced with a lot of the density laws that have come down from the Sacramento. And so I won't say it necessarily caught us off guard, but I think it was a challenging concept to bring the public into, because housing laws and housing policy is so complicated. And so I just think it was a big shock to everyone from in that 6th cycle that we were dealing with all of these new housing laws that we as a council and you as a staff had to explain to the public, and so that they could recognize what we were in control of, what we weren't in control of, what we needed to do, what would happen if we didn't do our housing element. And we've seen that play out over, this decade already. And so I think coming into the 7th cycle, we are so much better prepared just with that, from that experience where we have a real deeper understanding of what our role is as city council members to be that liaison to the community and to help them understand what our role is and what we need to do and how they can participate in that. So the fact that we are starting so early, it doesn't mean we're necessarily making decisions early, but it means that we have that much longer to bring the public on board and make sure that they're with us in this process and that they understand, because it really is, it's not easy. It's not easy. And so we want people to feel that they're really invested in the process. So this has been a huge goal of this council, is to make sure that we stay on top of this. And so I want to thank staff for really pushing it as a priority, like we believe it's a priority, and very, very happy to have Kimley Horn by our side. You all have been such amazing partners on so many different levels, including this really complicated one. So I'm happy to see it so early. Thank you, staff. Thank you, partners, and ready to proceed. Thanks.
Thank you. Well said. I'm so thrilled that we're starting early. And Robbie, you hit the nail on the head on a few things you said about, being reactive to the last cycle. And this is the city, and this is the city council and the city leadership being proactive, not reactive. We've heard from the residents. We are doing what we can in the boundaries of state law. And by starting this early, we are being as proactive to hear the residents and do what we can do under the very complex state laws starting between the 5th and 6th cycle that have gone into effect, and there will be new state laws going into effect in the next 5 days that are going to have, not going into effect, that will, waiting for the governor's signature or veto. But this is such a dynamic, evolving space, and so for us to be starting so early, being so ready, puts us in the best position possible to face to face our community, to face the region, and to be in compliance. So I'm so thrilled and appreciative that we are doing this. This is has been a vocal priority of this council, and I am thrilled to be able to move forward with this tonight and to be, I'm going to say it for the 5th time, proactive, not reactive. So with that, will the makers of the motion and second please state your name?
Councilmember Sylvester so moves.
Councilmember Chris Ansted seconds.
And that's for the staff recommendation. So I will now defer to the city clerk for roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Anstead.
Aye.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, now on to our first non-consent item, the main item tonight originally planned. Our next item is action item number 10, which is a discussion regarding a presentation by King Capital Advisors to assist the city of Agoura Hills with investment management of funds in accordance with the city's annual investment policy in California Code Section 53600, and in partnership with Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer for managing investments and executing investment transactions. I will now defer to Director of Finance, Diego Ibanez.
Good evening, Mayor Wolf and City Council. This evening, Mark Edelman from King Capital will be providing a presentation on investing and managing the City of Agoura Hills available funds. I'll let Mark get more into his background during this presentation, but he has a significant amount of experience in public sector investing, and he made a similar presentation to the Finance Subcommittee a few weeks ago. With that, Mark.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Mark Edelman, as Diego said. Let's jump right into the presentation here. This slide is a little bit about our firm and the relationship between King Capital Advisors and Cambridge Investment Research, Inc. Cambridge was founded in 1981. They have over 4,000 reps and one of the largest regional broker-dealers. We've partnered with them as our branch, King Capital Advisors, that specializes in the fixed income markets. All the California government codes and fixed income in particular is what I focus on for public funds. And we use Cambridge Investment Research Inc. to buy the purchases and to help provide the services. So what is a broker-dealer? We act as the intermediary between the clearing firm and us as financial individuals. We really, the clearing firm, which in this particular case is a third-party National Financial Services, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Fidelity Investments. They're the ones, they maintain the books, the records with Cambridge to make sure that everything is in order and you're receiving your funds and any of the securities are purchased, where you get monthly statements and you're able to view your account. This industry is very heavily regulated. You have FINRA and the SEC, and there are other federal regulatory agencies. So there's very strict guidelines on what you can and can't do. And also, we are audited, Cambridge is audited every year and submit, financials and by a third-party CPA. So as I kind of mentioned before, Cambridge, we get the large scale of a large independent firm. We have a lot of resources, national reach, wide range of investment options. King Capital is like the forward-facing that you would be partnering with, seeing me, or working with Diego and Nathan or whoever are the authorized individuals on the account, getting that customer service, answering the questions, actually providing the investment recommendations. we're here to really serve you guys and be in a partnership rather than show you something and then not hear from us. So you kind of get the best of both worlds by working with, I guess behind the scenes with Cambridge, and then having King Capital and our knowledge and expertise up front working with you directly. Just a little bit about me. In January of this coming year, will be 19 years. I work with many other public funds throughout California. I'm well versed in the California Code, working with investment policy assistance. I know there's a lot of firms and different vendors out there, but I think that long-term partnerships are the way that I have continued to build my business over the last almost 19 years. I think that's paramount and extremely important to me. And I think that's served all the clients and relationships I've built. You might see these three words in this specific order multiple times throughout this presentation, which is safety, liquidity, and yield. That is the philosophy and the mantra for public funds. I mean, someone might try to sell you or show you something that's too good to be true, or it's really good, and it probably is. You have to really stick to it and keep it very simple and use the safety where we want to preserve capital, liquidity to plan on the cash needs, have these investment options are liquid, so there is a liquidity inherently there as well. And then of course, we're trying to maximize the yield in a safe way. And so you put those three together in that order, and you are in line with California Code, your investment policy, and in line with other public agencies are doing as well. So a little bit of how we manage or how we decide to look at our four-step process is we want to understand your cash flow needs. I don't ever want to have a situation where I want to recommend a 3-year investment and you need the funds in 1 year. That's not my goal. We want to carefully plan this out, thoughtfully do the investments in a way that matches what the city needs. Of course, we also want to be aligned with your investment policy. Every decision should be made within that framework, no exceptions. Then we will construct typically we like to do a laddered portfolio. Inherently, there's no way to eliminate interest rate risk when investing in fixed income, but what we can do is try to mitigate it by having a smoothing effect with a laddered portfolio, which means having different positions along the curve between 1 to 5 years typically, and that way as maturities roll off the books, then you would be able to reinvest hopefully at higher rates, but if not, you'd reinvest at lower rates, but you would still be holding on to the positions that you've already purchased, which helps provide that smoothing effect. And then the fourth step is that once we do get something established, the next step is monitoring, reporting. I can make reports that can be provided monthly or quarterly, however fits the city's needs. And we'll continue to watch and find out for opportunities if they arise or different positions that are different items that are taking place in the market. Some of the products available that typically a lot of cities utilize are, treasuries, U.S. government agencies such as Home Loan Bank, Fannie or Freddie Mac, Farm Credit, municipal bonds. That's a little bit less, but there are some taxable California opportunities here and there. The one that I really am going to focus on is the CDs. It's a very straightforward product, FDIC insured or NCUA insured, which are credit unions. It's the sister agency of FDIC. Both are allowed, and up to $250,000 per institution. And so this would give you an opportunity actually to diversify without having to go opening accounts at each banking institution, which would take a lot of the staff's time. So that's a nice feature. And then there's investment grade corporate bonds and other money market instruments. Both are other alternatives. All of these are allowed in your policy. Doesn't mean we'll utilize all of them, but at least they're in your policy and in the California Code. This is specifically a chart of your policy. So treasuries, you're allowed to buy up to 100%. U.S. agencies such as the Home Loan Bank or Fannie Mae, as I mentioned, you can buy up to 75%, 30% per issuer. But specifically, there are callable type agencies, which is only allowed up to 20% of the 75%. The difference between those, same issuer credit, same type rating. Typically, though, with the callables, you're offered a higher yield or a higher return on the same safety of the investment. In exchange, They have the option after a certain amount of time. There are variations, and that's something that I can talk more in detail of, but basically the issuer has, Fannie Mae, Farm Credit, has the opportunity to call that bond at a certain designated time frame, and they would give you all of your principal, any outstanding interest. Why would they do that? Well, there's a chance if interest rates are lower, they may be able to take your purchased 4% and then reissue it to you or offer it out at 3.5% in that example. Or there may be other needs. But that's another great option. Corporates are up to 30%, that's standard. CDs, 30%, and in your portfolio, municipal securities, 30% as well. A little bit slightly different than the California actual code, a little more restrictive, but I still think you have a lot to work with within your policy. This is just an example portfolio that I wanted to put together, mainly just to show the variety of names, maturities. This is purely an example. You are not beholden to the actual investment amount on here. But as you can see, you may recognize some of the quality type names such as, Capital One Bank or Sallie Mae or Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan. There's a variety of offerings, and the reason why the sizes are varying is because some of the CDs pay interest monthly, semi-annually, can be quarterly, which is more rare, or sometimes annually. And I like to make sure if it pays annually, you stay around 240, and this would potentially change depending on the actual interest rate, because I want to make sure how it pays that your principal and your interest is both insured and under the 250,000 limit. The ones you see that are 244, they typically pay semi-annually, and the JP Morgan Chase, which actually has a call feature, you can see the higher return, 4.7 versus a 4.45 at the time of the portfolio. They have that call feature, a very fantastic rate, but that was only 238,000. That one happened to pay interest annually, hence the difference with the 11,000 of cash flow. We want to make sure you're staying under that 250,000 FDIC rate. At the bottom was a little bit of the highlights. In this example, the investment would be 2.191 million. The average par weighted average yield was a 4.36. The annual cash flow that you could predict from this would be around a little over 95,000, and the weighted average maturity, which is the blend of the maturities, is a little over 3 years. In this portfolio also, I wanted to highlight, these are all FDIC insured and protected, very safe investments. So some of the benefits of building a fixed income portfolio would be to give you some predictable cash flow. I think that's a huge thing that I hear a lot from finance departments. If you have everything just in LAIF or cash, you actually have quite a bit of interest rate risk because the rates typically move with the federal funds rate. So you're kind of at the mercy if they're cutting, or if they raise, you benefit, but if they cut, you get reduced and you don't really have a say, and you're kind of at their helm. Here you can kind of predict, stabilize some cash flows, have a smoothing effect. As I mentioned, reducing interest rate risk. So you want to have that ability to mitigate it by using a laddered portfolio typically. You have some diversification, so you have a little bit more say than compared to like a LAIF that will just, it's liquid and it's available, but they are the ones doing the investment for you. Organic portfolio growth. As you get the cash flow coming out, naturally you can reinvest that. So over time, you're naturally cash flowing. If you're not taking it out for other purposes, which you're absolutely allowed to do, you can start reinvesting some of the proceeds, which naturally will build your portfolio. It then, of course, can fund city initiatives, right? I mean, who can use another cash flow to fund probably projects, whether it's facility upgrades, crime, wildfire prevention? The more cash flow, I'd say, the better for any city. And diversification of cash flow is also important. And then in the future, if you ever decide that you guys do want to go out and issue bonds, I know that the credit agencies, Moody, S&P, Fitch, they look at does this entity have a portfolio, and if so, that's a huge advantage for you, because then it would hopefully bring a higher credit rating, which then in turn you could issue at lower rates, which in turn would then give you a cheaper rate of borrowing. So why choose us? I put it on here 1, 2, 3 on the right-hand column. We just we just have a strong moral compass, integrity. I don't care if Bitcoin is surging, it's just not appropriate. I don't care what the latest and greatest. We just keep it simple. If we stay within the investment policy guidelines, we're going to do the right thing, and you guys are going to be just fine. So safety, liquidity, and yield. The cash flowing, we can really tailor it to how you need. So if Diego has a big bills coming up that we need to, you guys need to pay, or payrolls, projects, anything, we can help kind of tailor that. And the larger your portfolio, the more you're going to be able to get tailored to what you need. Once again, there are people that can offer these CDs, but at this point, I think the secret sauce is more about the knowledge, the trust, the relationship. And myself, having that, I have plenty of references and work with many other entities, and will bring that same enthusiasm and knowledge to the city, which I think I'll be an extension of the team and hopefully be able to help. Obviously, enhancing your yield. Right now, the portfolio you saw there, that was a 4.36. LAIF is hanging around, I believe, a 3.8. That's some alpha right there, picking up some significant yield. And while that may go up or down, here if you're okay with that yield. And historically, obviously during COVID times, that was rough. Historically, though, this is a very solid rate, and you're not reaching. So for the effectively riskless portfolio, you're earning a nice return. And then, like I said, it's just a partner here. This is going to be done together and thoughtfully completed. It's not just, hey, give me all your money, I'm going to do it the way I do it. It's going to be a joint partnership where I think that way you feel comfortable step by step what we're doing, that I'm not going rogue on something, or someone's like, you know what, I really want to stay away from, and I'm not picking on Capital One Bank, whatever. You guys are saying to me, hey, I don't care how good the rate is, I want no part of them. Okay, great. We will scratch that out, and that's an offer that we'll take off the table. So it really gives you a more personal, hands-on touch, which I think is really important for cities, because everyone has their own identities, and people really prefer that. These are just a few of the many public agencies I serve. I happen to see in this trip Rosemead, San Fernando, Solvang. So I saw a few cities right there. I saw another one, Baldwin Park, as well. And then, of course, water districts, housing authorities. From top to bottom, I work with quite a few. So I have a really good pulse on what people are doing. I know what's permitted, and of course, as I get to know you guys better, and Diego, and he can provide direction, or of course the council, hey, we're going to really have a well-oiled machine that you guys will feel really confident and have some, your fingerprints on it to feel comfortable. This was a letter. I won't, bore everyone. However, Ed Pattison is someone I work with at Byron Bethany, and when he took over there, I've worked with him in a few districts. They were earning nothing. They had been in COVID rates and then effectively in the bank. And so I've come along, and we've worked together, and it's been a great partnership, and they're just over the moon with such a fantastic additional revenue stream. Him and the board are quite pleased, so he was very eager and happy, which I appreciate, to write a reference note for me. So I just wanted to include that, of course, reading at your own leisure here. Another slide that it says August 2026, but I can't keep up with how fast things are moving with the economic and interest rate outlook. Of course, if I knew exactly what they were going to do, I would tell everyone I know, including you guys, and we'd all be extremely wealthy. But of course, that's just a moving target. Quite frankly, I don't think they know. I mean, just a couple months ago, it was an 80% chance that the Fed was going to do a hike in September. Then it dropped down to 40 to 30, depending on the CPI and PPI. So it's really a moving target. I don't want to go too deep because, for all I know, there could be a tweet and everything I'm saying right now is completely off base. But I do think the impact is important where, I do understand, housing is expensive, and I know it can be expensive here. And I think the real benefit of the bottom part is that not only at the moment, there's no magic pill, but our magic spell here, but we are in a potentially higher for longer rate. I don't know how long, but the timing of this is very nice, as opposed to obviously considering this during COVID times when rates were very low. There's a real opportunity, I think, for the city to diversify cash flow and really come out with, ahead for many years to So how the firm is compensated, this is something I wanted to discuss. So unlike certain firms that want to do what's typically called an AUM fee, which means that's assets under management, meaning if we had if you did your $30 million portfolio, I brought it all on, they might charge, and I'm just guesstimating, so a firm like that would charge 10 basis points, which is 1/10 of a percentage point, meaning that on an annual basis, the city would need to come up with an additional $30,000 line item to pay for those services. In my scenario, we are acting as a brokerage account where you're gonna set it up as in the city's name, and how we are compensated is effectively there's concessions. And what I mean by that is a dealer like a CD desk or a firm that offers CDs, because there's many of them, and the ones I work with and how it's done, they're these new syndicate deals. And so to our firm, let's say the CD may be offered at a 4.05. And to the city, when I offer you the new CD, you would receive, I would show you a 4%. And that is exactly what you would get. So in turn, the issuer is compensating the firm for offering out their products, and this is done widely in industry standard. And so at that point, that's how we are compensated, and you are getting the net result of the portfolio. So unlike an assets under management fee, where that 10 basis point or $30,000 in that scenario, that would be an annual recurrence. So obviously you can do the math, 30, 60, that's a continual fee. Here, the compensation is at the point of sale. And so and I prefer this way because I just feel in my heart that it's cost effective, because you might want to start out with $1 million, and that is 100% perfect to me. That is fine. I want to build and everyone have the confidence and the trust, and we can build that over time if that's what you would like to move forward. But why do I want to eat into the city's yield or return? Because effectively, if you had a 4% return, but you had that 10 basis point management fee, your net return is really 3.9. With us, you're going to net the portfolio what's there. So I think that's what all my municipalities that I work with like, because look, you guys aren't in the market. You're not an investment firm. You're working on so many projects. I just I don't feel comfortable, taking an ongoing fee when, if we're talking about something like CDs or government agencies, it's a very simplistic product. I do charge a fee for wealth management and individuals or IRAs. That's a different side of my business. But when it comes to the public funds, I feel like this is just the most simplistic way. It alleviates another line item, and I think it's just a fantastic way, and that's what is really a lot of municipalities utilize. And so, as I mentioned, 2 to 10 basis points is typically what something is built in. It's all at the purchase of sale. It's your walk out the door or your all-in return or however you like to phrase it, and that's what the city would earn. And then everything is within market context. Obviously, if a treasury is at a 4%, there's just no way I'm going to say, hey, well, I got this shiny 2%. It's not going to happen. If so, then yeah, you guys really someone needs to have a conversation, but that wouldn't happen because that's not in my compass. And I want to keep you guys earning and doing really as good as you can. And once again, all this, the management, all that, it's so simplistic. It's so second nature. I do this for so many districts. I have systems where I know when things are maturing. I will notify you, hey, something's been called. So I'm on top of it. That monitoring, that just comes with it, and I just think it's a really cost-effective way for the city. So what the next steps would look like, we'd collect personal information from whoever the representatives would be on the account for the city. That's FINRA and industry standard, just like opening up in a bank account effectively. Once you get all that information, we'd input that into a DocuSign, which would then be sent to those individuals for e-signature. At that point, the account would notify you when the account was established, and then, there is no cost associated with that. And at that point, we would provide, wiring instructions to be able to deposit funds in the account. You also have a fantastic option of standing ACH instructions, which a lot of firms or a lot of cities utilize, where basically the funds, it's the standing instructions, it's at no cost. Typically next day, you can only go from 2 points. You can go from the city's brokerage account to the city's linked bank account, nowhere else. And you can move funds in between. Also, you don't have to do that. So it's just an option or a feature, but that's something that a lot of people utilize because it's very efficient. And then once again, it's the partnership. I've probably said it a few times, but I really value that. I think I love seeing in different districts and cities where they're like, man, we've been working for a number of years, and the portfolios really reap the benefits where we paid for this, or we've done this, or we've covered this initiative, and I really enjoy being behind the scenes, and the city could benefit, and you guys can have all the glory. I just want to sit back and do my job and make everyone happy and look good here. That's really effectively the end of my presentation. So if there's any questions, I'll hand it over to Diego.
Thanks very much, Mark. Council, during our budget cycle, we in finance were looking for new avenues or new areas of where we could improve some of our funds. We currently have a $30 million portfolio in our LAIF account that last year only yielded about $412,000. This is an opportunity to use those funds in a way that is comfortable for council. I would like to clarify something in the staff report. The staff recommendation says that the finance subcommittee recommended between $1 and $1.5 million to start the account. Finance staff has actually come back, and we feel more comfortable with starting it at $1 million. That would probably yield some return that we could actually make that into our mid-year budget process, as well as starting this budget, or this, if council approves, this process very introductory, very slow, very conservative. We'll see how Mark and his firm kind of deal with that. If it's something that's comfortable, we can continue. We'll always go back to finance subcommittee and say we could reduce more. I think that now that there's a full accounting department or finance department, we will be better at treasury reports coming from this individual account, creating their very own revenue line, better to be able to forecast during mid-year to control at least this revenue cycle. I know that given just the overall macro environment that we presented during the budget cycle, it's very hard to predict our sales and our property. This is something that could kind of give us that. It could also give us something at mid-year with a new project that's coming along, as Mark explained, with a possible project late in the year, an unforeseeable expense that we're able to kind of use this without tapping into any of our reserves. With that, that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you both. And Mark, I think you flew in from Texas, so thank you for coming all the way here for that. I really, really appreciate that. Before we move on to public comments, do any council members have questions of staff? See you. I'll start with Council Member Anstead.
I just want to, Diego, I want to try to understand the rationale for why you decided that you wanted to move some of this money that you're putting in the LAF fund, that you just don't feel like we're getting enough income from that fund.
It's an opportunity to expand what we currently have at LAIF outside and have an investment manager kind of look at that. We were very, very sort of cautious of not giving more than what's there. We do have that LAIF reserve, Councilmember Anstead, for our projects. We do front some, so we are aware of that cash flow that's there, but we want to kind of be able to use what's there sitting there as a reserve or sitting there as a reimbursement and be able to kind of explore more and see if we could yield more investing it outside of LAIF.
Okay, and then, so in other words, the $1 million would come from that 30 million, and we'd have 29 million.
That is correct.
Correct, okay. And if you were to move more than $1 million each time that you would add money into this new fund, would you come back to us to ask us?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the setup here is also, I want to make something very, very clear. The signers on this account would be the Director of Finance and the City Manager. Any transaction that Mark would suggest would always come first as a suggestion or a recommendation before any transaction proceeds. If given within that sort of guideline of what we're able to trade, it would definitely be something that either the City Manager or the Finance Director would go ahead and approve. And of course, a courtesy email would go out saying this is what happened, or we sold a specific bond, and we also got into a new investment vehicle at that point.
Okay. And the investments, again, they're all fixed income. investments?
All fixed income, FDIC insured.
Trying to think of any others. Those are the answer my majority of my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you. Councilmember Ansett and I are on the Finance Subcommittee. So thank you for being here in person. It's nice to see you. You were very explicit when you did the original presentation to us, so I just want to confirm some things. One of the reasons we're doing this is to see if we can find a different way of investing city funds in a safe portfolio, but with hopefully a greater yield so that we can increase our interest.
So we'll be better to manage and forecast that revenue stream.
Right. And because the LAIF, am I saying that right? The LAIF fund, that's just, we have no say in what is being invested.
No say, completely respected. It's about 2,300 agencies in the state have contributed. They manage about 23 billion. So very safe, but this is just an opportunity for us as an individual entity to kind of.
Right. And as our own investment fund, we can decide if the entities we are investing in meet the criteria for what the city approves of in our investments. Because I know there are some areas where we don't want to invest our money. So as opposed to LAIF, where we have no control, we will now have control of where we're putting our money.
That is correct. And every year during budget season, we'll bring the investment policy to City Council for approval and review. And that's where you'll have the opportunity to say, we didn't like this investment, or explain this investment, or et cetera, et cetera. Very, very conservative investment policy.
Right. And then in the future, when we're going out for bonds, it makes our city in a stronger position for a bond rating to show that we are investing separately from the LAIF and that we have secure investments.
You get a stronger credibility in terms of how we manage our funds. That is correct.
Great. And then, what was the other thing? Yeah, I think that was, I mean, you answered a lot of our questions at that primary meeting, so thank you for that. And I think the Finance Subcommittee felt that if we started with $1 million, then we can see how we go, because that is not a huge commitment out of the 30. And as time goes on, we can either increase that or stay steady, or if we're not happy, we can just put it all back in the LAIF.
That is correct, Council Member. I do want to stress that if in a year or 2 years down the line we are not happy with the returns that we're having, I think Mark is well aware that we can just close the account and everything that comes back to the city, and it comes back into this. We close that account and it goes back into the LAIF.
So as the subcommittee, I think we felt it's a win-win situation, and we're not putting ourselves in jeopardy, because everything that's going to be invested is in safe investments with guaranteed returns. Thank you.
I see Councilmember Anderson has your microphone on.
I do. So first, thank you, both of you, for excellent presentations on both sides. Fantastic staff report. Thank you to Councilmember Ansted and Sylvester for serving on the Finance Committee. Like that, this is complicated stuff. I appreciate your service, and I appreciate you looking at this. And I think, I mean, I'm going to jump ahead a bit of foreshadowing. I think this is terrific. So I really do like, no, that's too much in deliberations. You've asked some of the questions I had. I'm curious to understand a little bit about how you're compensated. So what I'm understanding is it's the people who are selling CD. So there are 5 different places who could sell a CD, and the people who are selling the CD are going to compensate you. Okay.
Yes, that's exactly correct. Effectively, they offer it, if you will, wholesale, or they give us effectively, so it's a built-in concession. So they say, okay, and they set that, and they say, okay, when you purchase the CD, which is offered the same to everyone, here's the compensation or concession that your firm will receive, but the CD is extremely competitive, and it's built in versus, like I said, the asset under management fee. So that's how the firm is compensated.
That's fantastic. That's fascinating. So I'm just curious, please educate me a little bit. What percentage of your municipal clients are utilizing that method of compensating your firm? Is it everyone that does that?
All the clients that I have is correct. They have a setup, an arrangement that, I'm recommending here as well. And so, because like I mentioned, there's no additional line items, you're not having to pay out of pocket. So effectively for, someone in my position who holds my FINRA licenses are allowed to offer government agencies CDs, and the concession is how the firm is compensated for offering those products.
So 100%.
Yes.
100.
Yes. Yes, all my clients are doing that.
Are doing it that. Okay, and then I'm just going to play devil's advocate a little bit. So there are 5 different, and I'm going to both play devil's advocate from a position of ignorance, truthfully. So there are 5 different firms offering CDs for you to then turn around, and you're making recommendations to us. And I do very much appreciate, I noticed in the staff report it said 17 times city has control, which I trust you, so I'm really glad that we do have control. So ultimately it will be Director Ibanez and our city manager making the decision about which of those 5 CDs. How much of a difference do these 5 different offerers give you? Like, is one's giving, you'll make $10,000 on one and $5,000 on another and $2,000 on the third?
Oh my goodness. That is very, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So a 1-year CD, if you bought $100,000 of a 1-year CD, the firm would receive $50. So it's not, and as you go out longer, there is a little bit more compensation, but it's still the CD product. It's very safe, so their compensation isn't huge. To be honest, I have a lot of clients, so it's kind of a volume scenario where I'm working with a lot of different entities. And then also other entities are buying maybe like government agencies that have the same kind of structure, but they might buy 1 to 5 million or 10 million or whatever at a time, which then of course is around the same type of difference in yield. But when you're doing such a larger size, then it's also based on the size of the compensation. So the CD is it's limited to 250,000 or under, obviously in this case, to protect your principal and interest. So not, to be quite frank, not like a huge compensation here, and not changing anything per se for not going out and buying any jets or cars. But however, I think it's a really important product, and I think it's something that just would be a great fit since it's so safe and has insurance, FDIC insurance behind it. And so that's how we get paid and compensated versus, like I said, charging a fee on top of that.
Totally get it. And listen, here's my gut, is that this totally makes sense, and you've already heard, I'm absolutely going to vote for this. I'm just trying to unpack it a little bit. What I'm trying to get underneath is, and you answered you answered a slightly different question in terms of, but maybe this is just showing my ignorance. Here's my concern, and what I want to get a little bit behind is, are these sellers offering you different compensation packages so that you're going to Director Ibanez and saying, okay, so there are 5 of them, but this one's really good because you're going to get more from that one? Or is there not a difference in those different packages?
Right. In this particular case, there's not a difference, and so all the rates are standard, but there are different issuers that these companies offer. So, ABC Bank might have a 3-year CD at a 4.3, and Bank of America CD might be for the same 3 years at a 4.4, and they're allowed to, because these issuers like Capital One, right? They need the money for credit cards, for example. They're a really large credit card company. And so when they issue it, they're having their own needs for demand to fund credit cards. And this has no bearing on you. I'm just using this as an example. Mm-hmm. And so if they have a strong demand and they really want to raise deposits to fund those credit cards in this example, they might have a slightly more aggressive rate. If you already own Capital One, though, I can't re-show the same CD, so I have to find something else. Otherwise, you'd be over the 250.
So there are differences then?
There are differences.
Okay.
But a lot of people offer the same. Some have different banks. My goal is to find the best rates possible for you in the same term. So I'm able to see it all and say, this is the best, because to me, it's being compensated the same. So why wouldn't I show you the best if I couldn't show you the best? So if it's all parity, then, they do offer different rates, however.
But do you make different is your compensation different?
Not on the CDs. It is uniform.
On the other products that we might be purchasing from you?
What's that?
On the other products that we might be purchasing from you?
There could be if you guys are interested in other type products. They typically fall within the 2 to 10 basis point range, as I mentioned on the fee slide. So, it really depends on what you guys want to do in the future, but it's all going to be in this market context. And it depends on the term and the amount, that some of that is inherently baked in on it with the broker dealer network and how they set it. So I don't really have a lot of say but I'm going to, of course, do the best job I possibly can for you guys.
And I saw in your presentation you led with integrity, and we wouldn't be talking to you, we wouldn't have asked you to fly out from Texas if that wasn't the case. So thank you, I appreciate that.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Thank you. My questions are actually more for Mr. Ibanez. We have an investment policy, and I remember a few years ago, especially when former Mayor Lise Buckley Weber was on the council, we were very focused on ensuring that our investment policy was consistent with our climate action and adaptation plan. And I guess my question is, if the majority of our holdings are in LAIF, where we don't make decisions on how that money's invested, what good was our investment plan? Like, how did that come into play for you when we didn't have any say over the LAIF investments?
My experience with LAIF, Mayor Pro Tem, has always been sort of the go-to investment agency for every agency that I have ever served for in a finance capacity. So I don't want to say that each individual agency that I have been with, their investment policy is null and void as soon as they go into LAIF. I do want to say that there is a certain blind trust that goes into that, because LAIF has been very good at managing and being super conservative and just kind of keeping that sort of in line. Now, in terms of what investment vehicles of a city council has come to terms, again, it goes back to we don't have a say in that. It doesn't nullify the fact that council's goal is, if we were to give them the option, which we're given an option tonight, what could we do with that? So you play more with that here, given this sort of opportunity that's being presented this evening. But to me, I have always sort of relied on the fact that LAIF has just always been offered credibility, return, very safeguards, and even our successor agency funds are there, which we're not allowed to speak with this evening because that's not on the agenda. But just to give you an example of how funds are just kind of given to LAIF outside of an investment policy that an agency might have.
No, I understand that. I guess my realization is that our investment policy was not as impactful as I thought it was, right? Because we spent a lot of time on that policy, and really, I believe it was Mayor Wolf's initiative was to make sure that our investment policy was aligned with kind of our environmental stewardship and in particular our climate action and adaptation plan. And what I'm hearing is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that really didn't come into play until possibly now?
I would say yes.
If I could jump, I apologize,
Okay,
but just
thank you. I'm
because
confused about it.
Yeah, so part of that was before Mr. Ibanez was here and our previous director, Ms. Penuelos, was here. So we did have, the investment policy was put together in reference, we did have funds that were invested outside of LAIF previously. We were working with a different investment firm.
Yeah.
And so that policy was provided to them, and that then put the guardrails on what our funds could be invested with. And that was partially because we had bond funds coming in, or we had project reimbursement. So we had at that time, we had a larger amount of funds in the bank, and so we decided to try to get more return on those. And so the policy is not worthless in the say it was actually utilized during that time when we were doing it. And since that time, because of COVID and some other things, we really haven't been investing outside of LAIF. And my understanding with LAIF also is because they represent so many government agencies, they're pretty limited. Now, they may not have met everything in our investment policy, but for the most part, they try to be I'll say conservative and consistent with what government agencies are comfortable investing in.
So then I guess that my second question then is, when did we terminate, or when did it just naturally end our relationship with that other firm, who I remember, I was on the finance committee at that time.
So probably a couple years ago, and the reason is we're really a small client. They were looking for larger agencies. I won't say they did us a favor, but I think they were trying to help us out in a time when we previously had a treasurer that was well versed in investment, right? And so she would always guide us and put us in the right direction. And since her leaving, we really haven't had someone that has that background. And so the company that came in was helping us, but their preference would be they take all of our funds, and even then, we're not really kind of the minimum they're looking for. They're looking for larger agencies, and that's typically they work with.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful, because then that leads into my third question and final question, which is, how did you land on King Capital? And I'm sure Ms. Yambao next to you is jealous that you don't have to go out to public bid on something like this. But I'm assuming that you did your due diligence and this is no disrespect to your firm. I'm sure, I just know our team well enough to know that I'm sure there was a bit of investigation and analysis on how we landed on King Capital, and if you interviewed other firms, if you called references, like what was your process?
Process, Mayor Pro Tem, I am going on my third year here. I think we started on this initiative my first year. It went through a process of going through conferences, speaking with camp, speaking with class, speaking with bigger sort of joint powers that kind of assist with this, and kind of looking at that, having conversations with them, bringing on them on for presentations. We did not take this sort of recruiting very lightly. We did have, as city manager has explained, we did have one firm who said, I need the entire 30 million. That is something that's not possible for an agency of our size, since we use some of our cash flow as to front projects and whatnot. We have to get a steady flow of cash. We had another agency who put us looked at our investment policy, and when they came up with a scenario, put us in a bond that was completely not for us. So that in and of itself, very early on, put them out of the running. So we went through a lot of conversations, a lot of presentations. We asked people to come back. We kind of gave them more of the investment policy. So it sounds like I might be bambling, but we took this very, very serious in terms of presentations, in terms of patience. We landed on King Capital because I have worked with Mark at the city of San Fernando. That's where I met. He also was a part of that. I mentioned it to city manager. He came on board. I mentioned it to the finance subcommittee because I think Councilmember Sylvester also had that similar question in terms of how did you guys end up here? It wasn't just an internet search, right? It was not. It was a completely sort of discussion, presentation between internal staff before going to the finance subcommittee, and now we're here at City Council.
Thank you.
My question, and I don't think I asked this in committee, but let's say that we're seeing really high returns. What's the timeline to then put more funding in? What does that look like? So if everything's going great and we say we're at 1 million, we want to go to 1.5. When would that then be brought back to the committee?
At your own pace. A lot of flexibility, and not only would that be a scenario where you might say, you know what, we are feeling comfortable, we want to add another $500,000 or whatever the case may be. In the meanwhile, I will be sending, if I see things I think are improving, I'll be sending different CD offerings at this point, sharing with the team here, and if there's something you like, you're welcome to participate, and if not, my kind of motto is I'd rather you see it and say no and know that it's available versus saying, hey, I didn't know this existed. We really would have jumped on this. So I guess to answer your question, anytime that you guys feel comfortable.
Thank you. That's helpful. Seeing no more questions from staff, I'll now move on to no, I will not do that. Before Where are we now? Public comments, thank you. Sorry, it was a long. I will now defer to the city clerk for public comments.
Thank you. We did not receive any written correspondence. We do not have any speaker cards, and I do not see any hands raised.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Now move on to deliberation. I'll start with my fellow finance committee member, Council Member Sylvester.
Yes, my apologies, Mayor Wolf. I'm getting my council members mixed up in all the subcommittees, but it's all good because we're all one family. Yes, I appreciated the presentation before with Mayor Wolf, and I think it's a great idea that we are diversifying, and I think it's a great idea that you are allowing us to start small so that we can get comfortable and see where it goes. So I am all in favor of proceeding with $1 million investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Anstead.
Yep, I think the presentation was great by both, and I think that definitely comfortable with the $1 million starting out with. And I think the fact that you've worked with other municipalities in the past is something that creates trust, because obviously you've done a decent job for those other municipalities. And so I think that I'm fine moving forward. I think it's something maybe, Diego, to maybe on an annual basis or something to update us on how things are going. And I think that, but I'm ready to move forward with the recommendation before it can get. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Thank you. Thrilled to see it. I don't know if you remember when you were first starting, Mr. Ibanez, that I actually asked about CAMP because we use CAMP at Clean Power Alliance, which is a joint powers authority that I serve on. And I thank you because you did the analysis and actually found out that CAMP wasn't that much different than LIFE. And so we chose not to make any changes. But the question was there is what can we be doing, with our reserves, with our money that's being set aside in a way that's the most advantageous. So I'm happy to see it. I was happy to see it on the agenda. Mr. Edelman, your presentation was excellent. You are clearly well-versed in the very strict requirements that we have as a public agency, and in California requirements in particular, which I would guess is even more complicated than in Texas, where you flew in from, or other states where you might serve. We have a lot of regulations here in California. So the fact that you're on top of what we need to stay in compliance, it means a lot to me, and that's really on the broad scale of the state requirements, but also our specific requirements for the city. Like I mentioned in my questions, we have some real philosophical goals about what we want to do and not do with our funds, and so I appreciate that you are willing to learn about that and understand that and respect that when making decisions for or making advisements for us, and appreciate the interesting conversation about the compensation and the point of sale. Certainly seems advantageous to us that it's a one and done and not an annual fee based on portfolio value, but certainly I like that you mentioned that you monitor things still, so that if there are other opportunities that come up or that we need to switch around, that there's some management of that and it isn't just one and done and then you forget about us. So I'm really happy to see this, and I'm ready to move forward with the recommendation of the $1 million to start and see how it goes from there.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Anderson.
Same for all of that. Thank you. We're really grateful that you're bringing your talents here to Agoura Hills, and thank you for the background on this. I didn't realize that there were questions around, so thank you for bringing us into that family. I think this is going to be really, really neat. I really appreciate that we will have our own portfolio, so if in the future we did ever want to issue bonds, it puts us in a better position. I appreciate that it will allow us to be more in alignment with our values, that we will have more control. And then Mr. Ibanez, you said something very key in here that we invested $30 million and it only yielded 412,000. It's like, that's what's going on here. There is the potential for more, which we absolutely need, so thank you. And I'm prepared to vote in favor of a $1 million recommendation.
Thank you. Well said by the council, and Councilmember Sylvester and I spent a lot of time on this item. I want to thank Director Ibanez for your work. There's a lot that goes into it, and you're making the money work for us, and it is a sacred duty to protect. This isn't our money, this is the people's money, and so we have a sacred duty to protect that, but also to be creative with it and find more ways to bring in revenue streams for the city, diversify our portfolios, and put us in a better financial picture. Maybe not tomorrow, but for the future. So we are future planning here. I'm ready to move forward with the staff recommendation of $1 million. I'm ready to move forward with, and then if I could get the recommendation said to me so that I can.
City Council Member Chris Anstey.
Sorry, Council Member. That was.
I'm sorry.
I'm waiting for clarification from staff so I can read the actual recommendation, and then I'll call for.
Just for clarification, the staff report says staff respectfully recommends the City Council review and provide direction to the city manager in regard to creating an agreement with King Capital and supportive of establishing a broker-dealer account. So I think the council needs direction on what exactly is staff recommending. Is it specifically authorize the city manager to negotiate an agreement with King Capital and establish a broker-dealer account in the amount of $1 million? Because the $1 million was not part of the staff recommendations. That's what we're trying to get clarity on.
So we just need direction to allow us to get an agreement in place and then open the brokerage account. And the $1 million was just so that we get the feedback and we know the comfort level of the council. So we can do that. We can add that to the recommendation if that specific amount.
So I think the suggested motion could be move staff recommendation as stated by the city manager.
I will now call for a motion to what the city manager said.
So moved.
City
Councilmember
Councilmember
Anderson.
Chris Anstey, seconds.
Great, thank you. I will now defer to the clerk for roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Anstead.
Aye.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you, Kimberly. Are there any comments from staff tonight? Nothing, Amy? No update? Any comments from the city council? I see Councilmember Sylvester.
I would just like to thank staff for getting ready for September Emergency Preparedness Month. I know the mayor has done a PSA announcement, and I did one with Chief Drew Smith, and I look forward to seeing the others just to alert our community and educate them on what we can do to prepare for emergency events. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Just want to say thank you to our entire Public Works Department and beyond for the amazing opening of the Ladyface Greenway project. That was such a huge undertaking, and it was such a celebratory day. I can't wait to hang out there when we're not in triple digits. So waiting for the heat wave to break so that I can just go and take a stroll and walk through there. But it's absolutely beautiful, beyond what we hoped. So thank you to your whole department and to the other departments that partnered, like community services and definitely finance. So, thanks to staff for really completing, I think, one in a million project.
I want to comment and thank the team. At yesterday's ribbon cutting at Malibu Brewing, the business owners gave a special shout out to the economic development team, and to hear that from a business owner is wonderful, to know that our team is working to support our small business community. So great work on that. And hearing or seeing no other comments, the next regular city council meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. on Wednesday, September 9th in the council chambers of the Civic Center located at 30001 Ladyface Court, Agoura Hills, California. This meeting is now adjourned.